Hello, everybody, and welcome to Spergonomics episode 25. And oh god, I shouldn't have eaten that so quickly. But anyway, I hope you like the new visuals. These are yet more placeholders. But what you see here will be will be part of the new artwork that I have just commissioned from the legendary Skalk. So you'll be seeing me, Alkazai, and Chicago Liberal in our full splendour. I can't say anything more other than it's going to be really epic.
Damn, that's one way to put it.
Yeah.
Speaking of my co-hosts, how you doing, Chicago?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Probably shouldn't have eaten my tea so quickly. I've not even finished it, but hey, whatever. And Alkazai, how you doing?
Unfortunately, I still exist, so not too well.
Oh well, you know that can be arranged.
I agree.
And with us,
Get the Rona, baby.
and with us, last minute is British Knight. How you doing?
I'm fine, thank you very much. Just posting
Wait,
new
you
videos,
were
so I'm
just
feeling
on.
very good about stuff.
What was that, Alkazai?
Wait, British Knight was just on literally like the last podcast.
He was.
And
Again, if anybody's free, they can come on. So, just as long as they don't accidentally jump on during the stream, but before the stream, it's first come, first served, if anything.
Yeah.
So,
To be fair, in this instance, I was asked.
indeed, you were asked. It's
Yeah.
whoever I can think of first, really, sometimes. Other times, people can ask me, and if there's time, I'll be like, yeah, sure, come on.
Ooh.
it just can't be cringe.
Yeah, you can't be cringe. Otherwise, we'll have to put a barrier on your name.
No, not Varia.
And now the whole Soviet Union knows you posted cringe.
And Varia did post IRL cringe, I mean.
He did IRL cringe, the type of stuff that we probably can't talk about on this channel.
Yeah, like, have too much fun with little girls.
Too much fun with flowers
Too
in
much
their
fun.
hair.
That's a really tame way of putting that.
I know, but that's how YouTube wants it to be.
Surely having any fun with little girls is cause for concern.
Yes.
But they let him get
Should
away with
be
it
arrested
because he
if you
was
play
buried.
games with them.
Speaking of which, we have new people in the audience, so maybe we shouldn't be talking about touching little girls. Otherwise,
Hey, we're not the ones. It's Beria that did IRL in real life, circa 60, 70 years ago. So, but honestly, it shows how much power can allow you to get away with things, because we had people like that, but they weren't even politicians who could touch you however they wanted, and the powers that be would protect them. Like Peter Saville, for example, he was kind of like our Beria, even though he wasn't a politician. He wasn't a communist.
Peter
either.
Saville.
Yeah, Peter.
Jimmy Savile.
Jimmy Savile. What am I saying? Peter Savile's, I think, an artist actually. Oof. Anyway, Jimmy Savile. Yeah, James. I mean, he knew so many people you wouldn't believe who were like high up there. So he knew the Pope. I think both of them. So he knew Pope John Paul II, kind of. Or at least he'd met him. And he met maybe the one before this one, the German one. I might be wrong on that.
He knew Prince Charles. In fact, he was very good friends with Prince
Yeah,
Charles.
he was a royalist, for a Catholic. Who else? He knew that. Oh, he knew all the prime ministers. Thatcher was one of them, but I think he knew pretty much all of them. Who else? Oh, obviously, the BBC higher ups, they all would cover up things, and I don't know if the police ever did, but we all know that a certain new leader of the Labour Party refused to charge him back in the day.
Yeah, fuck Richard Spencer.
I don't think he looks like him that much. They just have a similar hair and the head. But the face is actually kind of different, I would say.
In other words, he looks like him.
Kind of, but not really. Is this a new thing? Hoi, hoi, hoi? In the chat? Is this like how we should now refer to each other and greet each other? Hoi! How are you doing, guys? Hi. So anyway,
Is that a reference to what Alexander Graham Bell actually wanted people to greet people
I think
over the phone? Ahoy!
it may have been, but I remember what he said was hello, and I know that Edison invented hello.
Bob.
I know that Thomas Edison invented the term hello, believe it or not. He invented that word because it used to be hello and hello.
No,
and then he turned it into hello. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but he created that. He did legitimately create.
Well, yeah,
that
because
word.
originally hello was originally not used as a greeting, but used as like a way to gather someone's attention.
Hello. We kind of do that actually, but we don't realize it.
We still do that, but it wasn't just. It was only like a way to do that. It wasn't a greeting yet.
A lot of words are formed not necessarily intentionally, but through laziness. So, for example, nickname. It came from a completely different. Well, it sounds the same as like ekname or something like that in Old English. But then over time, to make it, because of vowel shifts and things like that, and also because people slur and accents change, it ended up turning into an N sound, and then the N sound that was meant to be just like it was a separate thing. It's kind of like, an or a. It just ended up being part of the name. So like apron used to be napron, so you would say a napron, but then grammar changed, so it became an apron. Clever, that, isn't it? I've been watching a lot of that linguist who I've been the cunning linguist Simon Roper. If anybody wants to check him out, he's really good.
Yeah.
He also did a video on Neanderthals recently, which was interesting. We really don't know much about them as we think, and you can't really say for sure if humans wiped them out, if we really did interbreed as much as we did, which, as far as we're aware, it only happened between Neanderthal men and human women. We have no examples left of the other way around, but we don't know why that is. It could be anything, really. So
Neanderthals have bigger dicks.
well, I don't know about that actually. They had smaller bodies,
that
but bigger muscles. So maybe dicks are muscles. Yeah, maybe you're right. You might be right about that, Alcazar.
I was just joking.
No, you might be right though.
the Chad Neanderthal European versus
Well,
the
we know a lot
virgin
of
human
them-
African.
Well, like the Mary Rose, right? When we recovered that and they found bodies of archers, and we discovered that a lot of them had arms that were bigger than the other, like the bone structure. Well, Neanderthals are like that too, because we don't really know why. We don't know if it was because they used spears a lot, or if it's just tools.
Well, it's because they had big dicks.
Well,
They have
potentially.
massive schlongs.
They needed to have one arm longer than the other to beat their
But I'm
meat.
always confused about what they look like.
They needed to use two hands, bro.
But I'm always confused about what they look like, because sometimes when they're reconstructed, they look like apes. Well, we're all apes, but you know what I mean? They look like gorillas. Like, they look more gorilla-like than we do, but then other ones, they look barely dissimilar to us.
Neanderthals, the most recent consensus, Neanderthals generally look like a slightly, like the whole thing about them being short has been proved largely false. They're generally considered to be a slightly taller, slightly like bulkier version of humans, with lighter skin because of where they inhabited.
Well, some of them are in Asia, so they would look a bit like Asians as well.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
They were Eurasian, so they had lighter skin, as opposed to humans, which came from Africa, most sub-Saharan.
So the humans they would have interacted with had not yet developed. This is what we found out. We didn't actually get light skin from them. We actually developed it ourselves.
We developed that over time.
I mean, that doesn't mean the offspring wouldn't have had lighter skin or whatever. Like me, I'm mixed race. I'm lighter than my dad. So, and he was lighter than his dad. But, well, that I know
Well,
of.
no shit, he was lighter than your dad.
Well, I don't know, but I don't know my granddad.
But generally speaking, it's like they were generally considered to be slightly taller, slightly bulkier, and but that's the thing. That's ultimately why they're believed to have went extinct, because they existed in smaller social groups, and their bodies, and because they were competing with large numbers of humans who, while they were weaker, they were also more innovative. Like, they invented the halal, which allowed them to launch spears further, where Neanderthals generally didn't throw spears at all, because they could go head to head with the animals and survive, where we couldn't. we generally, because we were more innovative, we were able to essentially out-hunt them, and their bigger bodies, which needed more energy, resulted in most of them starving to death.
Pretty much, yeah.
And
They didn't use bows or anything like that. That doesn't mean they couldn't create them. I'm pretty sure they were smart enough, but
they were capable of creating them. They just never thought. They just never thought to invent them. They generally, the only examples of them using them is when they integrated into human tribes.
So what about Denisovans then? Because they look more human, I would say.
Denisovans, aren't they the like non-human common ancestor of Asians?
No, they are human. They're subspecies, aren't they?
That's what I mean. You know, like not Homo sapien.
Hominid.
If you know what I mean.
That's what you mean.
Yeah.
Kind of, but Neanderthals are too. So it's like, I think it's more the Pacific, I would say, down that area. I can't recall exactly, but we know that in those certain areas, that's where they tended to be. I'm not sure. We know that Homo erectus, I found this out recently, Homo erectus, they could seafare. They could use boats. And we know this apparently because they managed to get across the Strait of Gibraltar, which is incredible. I didn't know that. I knew they could use tools, but I didn't know they could actually create boats. I mean, not like we can, but I thought that was really fascinating. But it's been proven apparently. Wow, or at least theorized. Because how do they get from one place to another without swimming, or at the very least on a boat or a raft, something like that? But anyway, you've made a new video, haven't you, British Knight? Finally,
I have. I did my Animal Farm review and analysis, which I've been promising for weeks now, and it's finally out. It's literally premiered within the past hour, and yeah, it's one of my longer videos, and I'm actually quite proud of it. The only criticism I would really have of it is the fact that I was trying to get it out quickly towards the end, so all of my voice recordings are like first tries. So I sort of mumble a couple of words and I drag certain words out when I'm not sure what I'm saying. Like that's the only other than that, it's fine. But yeah, I'm really happy with the end result. Half of it is.
So, did you discover anything new while you were reading it again for the analysis?
I guess I learned more about Orwell because I never really considered Orwell's actual political philosophy, like what philosophies he held to. And I guess you could say I learned more about what biases Orwell held, because when, like in 1984, it more deals with authoritarianism in general, so it doesn't really deal with what he believes specifically. But Animal Farm really does. And this is one of the criticisms I had of the book, was that it paints this sort of idealistic depiction of like Trotskyism and Leninism, while like sort of condemning Stalinism, but because he was a lifelong democratic socialist, Orwell like sort of lefty libertarian type, and I just found out so much about him that I was like, for someone who is so incredibly smart and still and like held up as like this like grand, it's like this grand figure of authoritarianism, of anti-authoritarianism, he really did like sort of simp for a lot of what are considered to be today authoritarian characters. He really did like stand up. He really did stand up for them, and like it really just showed that in many respects he was like your tip. He held a lot of the weaknesses that you'll find in any Marxist today, in that they're willing to revise history in order to make it suit their narrative.
I would say though it could have been ignorance, maybe, because they hadn't really. I would say that a lot of them hadn't got the facts and stories out from the Leninist era of the Soviet Union. So they've only really been given, say, Trotsky's take on it, which is, oh, Lenin was great and all that. It was Stalin that ruined everything. But as we now know, the killings, the Kulak stuff, all of that happened with Lenin.
Well,
He started that, didn't he?
two that I pointed out in the video was his murder of the Tsar and his family, which didn't happen under the provisional government, as the provisional government were originally trying to get them to, essentially trying to find somewhere outside the country to send them, because they didn't want to murder them.
Rip Alexander Kerensky.
He survived. He survived the war and the revolution.
Rip his government, whatever.
They essentially they were trying to find a state that would take them, but none of them would. Nazi Germany obviously wouldn't take them because they were going through the means of getting rid of their royal family at the time. Britain wouldn't take them because, I think it was mainly because we were just establishing ties with Germany at the time, because obviously our royal roots of the German roots of the royal family were just being established at that point in time. Or they had been established very recently, and we didn't want to piss off Germany.
Wait, when was this? Was this World War One?
This was at the end of World War One. Yes.
That doesn't sound right.
No.
Well, I'm just theorizing here, but
No,
you know
because
what
happened to Wilhelm was he abdicated and left for Holland. In Britain, they changed their name to Windsor, I think, around about that time, or maybe that was World War Two. They weren't trying
it was World War One.
Yeah, so they weren't trying to establish anything German. People already knew they were. So I think what it was
ultimately, my point is that no state would take them. And so ultimately, when the October Revolution came around,
I don't think that the British would not have taken them, considering that Nicholas was George's cousin and his wife was they actively refused to take them in. The British actively refused to take the Russian royal family in, and when the October, or at least they did up until the point in which they were killed. And then when the October Revolution came around and Lenin took control, they were murdered. And Lenin did originally blame it on the local government of the area of Russia they were being held in, but it has since been found that essentially pretty much every person who was close to him at the time has admitted, he ordered it. He didn't want people. He didn't want liberals and pro-royalists having someone to rally behind, so he just had them murdered. So, what about the story then? Did you discover anything about that as well that you maybe didn't see before? Was there hidden layers or anything like that, or is it still pretty much straightforward? Would you say?
Well, there's obviously most people will know that a lot of the main characters are based on prominent figures from the Soviet Union. But pretty much every character, even the minor ones, is based on some personal demographic. Even down to Moses the Tame Raven, who's a allegory for religion. He's an allegory for the Russian Orthodox Church. All the human farmers are based off people like Mr. Pilkington is based off prominent the United States and the United Kingdom, and Mr. Friedrich is based off Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany more generally. You just find that there's allegories written into every character in this story.
So what was I going to say? So the pigs are more like the communists, right? Stalinists.
The pigs are essentially the communist government under Stalin, yeah.
Which is funny because have you listened to the Pink Floyd album of Animals?
No,
because that's literally just Animal Farm in musical format. And I find it funny that somebody like Roger Waters likes that film. I mean that book and all the other adaptations, because he is a communist, and the pigs or not whoever he thinks the establishment were at the time. It was him.
Yeah, it's freaking start. It's like just to put it for people who haven't read the book, Old Major's based off Marx and Lenin, though, as I pointed out in the video, because the Old Major dies before the revolution happens, he's probably more he's a more representative of a Marx figure than a he's more representative of a Marx figure than a Lenin figure. Snowball's based off Trotsky. Napoleon, apt name considering he's named after another dictator, is based mainly off Stalin. Though, again, as I pointed out in the video, a lot of his actions can be more generally applied to the likes of Napoleon Bonaparte, Mao Zedong, Emperor Hirohito, or even Adolf Hitler. And I guess you could say, like, that allegory is a bit more general purely because of the fact that it can apply to pretty much any authoritarian dictator. And then Squealer is based off Stalin's head propagandist, Molotov.
I like the idea that he's a squealer.
Yeah, his name's literally Squealer. And a couple of more.
Is he also a pig?
Yeah, they're all pigs.
Yeah.
Like the communist government figures are all pigs. And then obviously there are characters that represent like entire demographics, like Boxer the cart horse, which represents the working class. Molly, who represents the middle class. Clover, who represents the women of Russia. Again, Moses, which represents the Orthodox Church. The dogs, which represent the
KGB?
KGB.
No, not KGB.
NKVD.
And yeah, that's the one.
Beria. It's Beria! Oh no! He was a dog though, Beria. No, he was more of a pig than a dog.
Yeah, he's represent, like, the story puts it like Napoleon raises a bunch of puppies and then he has those puppies chase Snowball off the farm, and then he uses them to kill any animal which like goes against him. So they sort of act as his secret police.
So have you two read it as well, like Chicago? I think you may have.
No, I actually haven't.
No, you haven't. What about you,
Nope.
Arkazai?
Yeah, I've read George Orwell.
Yeah, but did you
The
have you
book.
read Animal Farm or 1984?
Yeah, I've read
or...
Animal Farm. I've read it twice.
What did you think?
It was fun, but like, meh. It wasn't the greatest story.
Yeah, that's the thing. I didn't even finish it because I didn't like the style of it, and I was used to 1984.
I remember, like, I read it like 8th grade. I read it halfway through just for fun. And I was like, God damn, it's fucking boring. Then freshman year, I read through the whole thing for school, and I was like, it's not that. It has great lessons and whatever, but like, God, just a fucking not really enthralling.
Yeah, and I think he'd written better books around about that time because he'd written. Was this the 40s? Animal Farm. Yeah, I think it was like.
Yeah.
So like he'd already written like Road to Wigan Pier, which is not a novel, but it's like it's like a non-fiction book that is narrative based anyway. Then you've got his first one. There's a few Down and Out in Paris. So he'd written other ones that are probably as good, if not better than that. But it depends on your taste, really. Like, you know, Animal Farm is well known and well loved, but I just couldn't get past the style of it because it was, you know, it's a pretend children's book. And there's like a tone of, I think British Knight, you said it was condescending, didn't you?
Yeah,
And
because it's more condescending in the context that he wrote it saying he wanted to tell the story of the Russian Revolution in a way people in the West would understand, which suggests he thinks of people in the West like children that need educating.
I mean, that's a trait that a lot of leftists have, even today, I would say. which explains why a lot of their artwork and or their creative works are very childish in nature, I would say.
Damn.
I mean, I'm not wrong, am I?
No,
Cal
you're
Arts. Look
not.
at Cal Arts. Like in the 80s and the 90s, we had like I mean, okay, these in the 80s, I mean, they weren't considered the best of the best or anything, but She-Ra looked like it was well drawn. You had heavy metal and things like that. In the 90s, you had Batman the animated series. Now what do you have? It's just
The fucking bean mouth. The bean
the
mouth.
mouth. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people use Gumball as an example, but Gumball, the show itself, uses pretty much every art style you can possibly think of. That isn't.
Yeah, Gumball has a very has a very mixed art style. It's just the family happens to be Cal Arts, which is what you see them most.
Yeah, I don't understand why that is a thing.
The bean mouth. Dude, there was a fucking Fruit Loops commercial where the toucan had a bean mouth and a beak.
Like,
And I was like, why?
Don't get me wrong. You can use the bee mouth, and it can
No,
look
you
nice.
can't. Bean mouth is now banned. It's just no more
There's a
bean mouth.
YouTuber-
Society has evolved past the need for bean mouth.
There's a YouTuber who uses it that's pretty good. He does a lot of reviews. He did that video on a poo. Oh, what was he called? The one with the bald, fat character. I can't remember, but the ghost is a bee mouth, and it works. But
What bald fat character? What are you talking
I
about?
forgot his
Simpson?
name. Yeah, he did a video about a poo. I'm gonna look it up. Hang on.
The bald fat guy. Comic book guy?
No, not comic book. Here he is, Hot Diggity Demon.
Oh.
He's a pretty good YouTuber, but he does a lot of animating and stuff. So his animation for his avatar is 3D-ish, maybe 2.5. Then you've got the ghost, which is 2D Cal Art style, and it looks nice. That's because it's a ghost. It's not a person, I think. So when it's something fantastical, like Gumball works because he's a cat, I think. But if you put it on a human, it looks weird. I just think there's been a decline in Western animation, and it used to be that 3D was crap, right? No matter what they used to do, even if the show was good, it didn't look very. The 3D would date and it would look terrible, or it looked terrible on release. But the 2D ones were always good. So I mean, I didn't particularly like the film, but maybe I need to rewatch it. But you know that Atlantis that came out 20 odd years ago? God, do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have like Lilo and Stitch. And then the last ever Disney 2D film was that Princess and the Frog, was it? Which was set in New Orleans. It looks dead nice, doesn't it? But nowadays, it's for some reason in the universities, or at least in Cal Arts anyway, they're not teaching them how to actually draw people. It seems like they're encouraging them to write these basic art styles that kids kind of develop to learn how to draw. That's what it looks like to me. I don't know what you guys think.
I don't know. I mean, I think the Cal Art style is exaggerated of how big it is, but I do hate the fucking bean mouth on literally every character though.
Well, it's always anime. Anime is exaggerated and large, but it looks nice. Unless it's 3D.
Yeah.
3D anime looks terrible.
Well, no. I'm saying the fucking Cal Art style thing is way overblown, but I still hate the fucking bean mouth.
You know what it is? It's Tumblr. These are all people from Tumblr.
Yeah, that's more accurate than they're all from Cal Arts.
It's more Tumblr, I would say. So a lot of the people now in Marvel and DC, they're from Tumblr, especially Marvel, and you can see it in the comics that are coming out. They have that Tumblr cartoon style, and it's horrible.
That everyone looks fucking ugly.
It's not just that; it's just the art style is so amateur and basic. But not just that. Like Squirrel Girl, do you remember when that came out? The new Squirrel Girl, and it looked awful.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember that?
I remember that, and I also remember the comics from the mid 2000s where, despite the fact she was literally a squirrel girl, she looked fucking. She looked just as freaking. She looked just as friggin' exaggeratedly good looking as any other female superhero character.
And it's Tumblr because these people. I don't mean to
They're
badmouth.
all ugly.
Yeah. True. Well, there's that, but then also a lot of these people are self-taught, and I don't mean to sound elitist, but it shows. So, these are people who became famous online, and they're entirely self-taught, but they're not so self-taught that they're natural talents or anything. and they're getting picked not because they're good, but because this is the main thing. They're being picked not because they're good, but because they're the right demographics or have the right politics. And it shows. Look at the new Squirrel Girl. Everything's not right. Like the proportions of people is wrong. Say what you want about Thingy and Liefeld. The guy who makes really weird, exaggerated stuff in comics. At least he knows anatomy. These people don't. So the eyes look bulging and weird, like they're all pugs. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Like at one point, she's like she's in like a audience, and she's just like bug-eyed at people, like, "Ooh!" It's just creepy. Ugh. Ugh. What's going on? What happened to the great art? That wasn't even that long ago. There were still good artists like a couple of years ago. I don't understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's like most of the good ones are like doing like the alternative like print like publishing methods now, aren't they?
Yeah,
like doing funding for their like personal projects and stuff now.
That's Comicsgate mainly, and Todd McFarlane is as well. I don't know why he actually, I've seen interviews. He said he just wanted to try something new. And he's made like millions on Kickstarter. But most Comicsgate people do it via Indiegogo, and it's a shame. But I know why they do it, because they're. Oh, you're Chicago. You're echoing me again.
Yeah, I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear Mitch any more than I have to.
I don't know why it's just me. It doesn't happen to anybody else. That's a strange thing, isn't it? Are we connected via the Force? Are we Force Skyping?
No, it's the 5G towers, bro.
It's the 5G towers.
The 5G Corona towers.
I think Chicago is my Kylo Ren.
Ooh.
Ooh. No offense, Chicago.
Don't tell me he's gonna have to kiss you to bring you back to life.
No, obviously not. No. Well, actually, no.
Yes, I'm also very swole and walk around without a shirt when I'm brooding.
Ben Swallow.
What? I don't know.
Chicago
Dude, why does he
Swallow.
even have to kiss you to bring you back alive? Why can't he just kiss you without any,
Well, they didn't. She didn't kiss him to bring him back alive. She kissed him afterwards.
Oh, whatever. Just do that.
No, I'm alright.
Kiss him after you kill a bunch of people for no reason. I don't know.
But where was I at? What was I saying? Oh yeah, Indiegogo. The reason why Comicsgate do that is because they're basically kicked out of the mainstream, so they can't. Every time they would try to get retailers to sell the book, the Marvel and DC activists will stop them by using their connections. I think that's why. So they're trying to just sidestep it and use outside distributors and things like that. So they have to raise all this money in order to pay for it, I think. I don't know. I'd have to ask people who are Comicsgate. But I think that's something that we should do in gaming and other places, animation. Like, it's pretty clear that the mainstream is not going to accept the stuff that used to be more acceptable. So, drawing, animating people that are actually look like people, and non-SJW, non-leftist narratives. I think game developers are going to have to, who don't want to be a part of the indie scene, which is also full of them. Like Phil Fish, for example. He's the type of leftist gatekeeper in there. They're going to have to start using Indiegogo and places like that in order to make their games, and we're going to have to also, I think, support that as well, because that's where Gamergate went wrong and where Comicsgate has succeeded. Because Gamergate didn't. There were a few people who made their own gaming journal, gaming outlets. So there was the GG. I think that was a direct. That came out of Gamergate. There's one called Sea Lion. That might be a Gab thing, but there was also One Angry Gamer. I think may have come out of Gamergate, or maybe became more famous as a result. But by and large, there was nothing. Nobody was creating anything. It was just videos and people on Twitter. And because they thought, I think Gamergate thought they could change the industry from protesting, and they managed to change the ethics policies, but that doesn't mean that they had to follow them, and they haven't for a very long time. despite changing it. So the only way you can defeat it is to create a parallel system, basically. And look what's happening. Comicsgate is succeeding, whereas Marvel is not, and DC is not. DC's doing better than Marvel, but again, that's what should have happened. I don't know what you guys think. Hello? What do you think?
No,
I don't really have much of an opinion because I tend to stay out of things like Comicsgate and Gamergate.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more interested in just politics.
yeah, I don't give a shit about Comicsgate at all.
It is political, though. It is political. That's why it exists.
I do, dude. I know nothing about Comicsgate, so I don't really care.
Well, it's a reaction from leftist narratives being pushed in comics, and also their gatekeeping. So they're getting rid of people who are not getting with the program, like Ethan Van Sciver. He was removed from DC because of his political leanings, and he was harassed on Twitter for it. That's how he became part of Comicsgate. So it is political. That's why they do things on their own. But anyway, you wanted to talk about something, Alcazar, didn't you? About
I did.
About Mr. Joe Biden.
I did.
About Serbia.
So basically, no, there was a tweet yesterday. Forget. What did it say? Oh, I forget. What did it say? Oh, fuck. Here it goes. So the Twitter account at historic.ly said, "Who remembers Joe Biden wanting to bomb Serbia?" And that was during like the fucking Yugoslav civil war, when Serbia was, I don't know, committing genocide against the Bosnians and Croatians and shit. So I was like, how is this a bad thing? And then whoever runs this account got fucking blasted in the replies about like, yeah, stopping genocide's a good thing. And
well, I read a book a long time ago about it was called was it What's Left by Nick Cohen, and this was before everything kicked off, and he was already saying, look, there's issues here with the left, and he is a leftist. He writes for The Spectator, I think he does, and he wrote this book, and he was mentioning in the 90s how people like Noam Chomsky supported Serbia, basically, because, well, I guess because it's against the mainstream, from what I could gather.
No, it's just that Serbia at this particular moment happened to be the enemy of the Western world because it was being a dick.
No, don't get me wrong, like, I'm not saying that Serbia was entirely to blame. It's just there was a lot of stuff on their side that they did. But I mean, I've actually got a friend on YouTube who can explain their side very clearly. That Lord of Fenrir. I don't know if he's watching, but if he is watching, he can always join the Discord server and can get him on sometime. But like, you don't. It's this thing that Corbyn used to do it. They just, whoever's the enemy of their country or the West, they just automatically simp for.
Yeah, it's
like, come on, have some principle. Like,
Noam Chomsky is the most over-fucking rated intellectual on the face of this fucking planet.
He's like a broken clock. He's had many good ideas, but then most of his ideas are crap.
Yeah, it's like his critiques of postmodernism are like fine or whatever. Yeah, I agree with him, but like everything else is just shit in my opinion.
True. I just don't understand why you would defend Serbia. I don't think there's any justification for it, but that's what they do. They defend the worst people in the world and try to claim that they're actually better than us.
Well, also his like just his book fucking like manufacturing consent is basically just like conspiracy theories and shit.
Do you reckon?
I would reckon, yeah, because like it supposedly talks about how like the media controls fucking everything. I think I haven't read the book.
That's on my wish list, so I'll read it and find out.
Dude, Noam Chomsky in a rape trial be like, "Dude, Your Honor, I didn't date rape her. I just manufactured her consent, bruh. Let me off, bruh."
Have you read that, Chicago, or have you not read it yet?
Nah, I haven't bothered.
By the way, I think I can mention this. Do you reckon we'll still be able to do that thingy Starship Troopers stream at some point?
Oh, definitely. I would love to go and do that.
Because once I've finished some of my books, I'm gonna read that. Because didn't we have like a timetable for it this summer? I think.
We can go and do around July.
July or August, I think. So for those of you who don't know, we've been. Do you want to explain it, Chicago? Go on. I think you should explain it.
So I got this idea when watching Spergonomics' review of the movie Starship Troopers with using parts of the book as well. But I would like to go at the angle of just using the book instead of the movie, because, well, the book is more philosophical and is in the actual linear continuity of time, unlike the movie, which is actually a jumbled mess time-wise, and is more focused on being an action movie, because its director was too dumb to understand the book.
Which is weird, because he was too dumb to understand that book, yet he also made RoboCop, which is a really smart film. But yeah. So basically, our plan is to read the book over however long it takes all three of us to do it, and then we'll discuss it. So I think we definitely need to structure it though. So we need to go plot, then subtext, things like that. But we'll work it out, won't we?
Oh god, dude.
Yeah.
I do not want to go through a fucking literature class again, bro.
Well, it's only talking about the ideas.
Whatever.
Well, the plot has to serve the ideas, the ideas have to serve the plot. So you kind of have to talk about that stuff and things like that. But it'll be fine. It'll be a fun stream, I reckon. And then also next week, this isn't really my idea. This is, I think, was this yours, Chicago? About a debate or discussion. What was it? What'd you say?
It was debating with Harry and Gladev on whether whether something like Twitter's right to their own property trumps people's rights to say whatever the hell they want.
It does.
Am I echoing right now, by the way?
Yeah, you're alright, you're fine. But I was a bit confused by it, because somebody said, what was it? The title was, a proposed title is Private Property versus Free Speech, wasn't it? And I was a bit confused by that.
Well, I think it's a valid question. If those two things are coming directly into conflict at this point in time, and I don't think it's really deniable that the online space has essentially become the public square, like in the modern day. So I do think there is a legitimate argument for a conflict of interest.
Yeah, I suppose I was thinking more in terms of the idea of the two as opposed to actually in practice. Yeah, so that makes more sense now. Actually, now I know what you mean. Because I was thinking also, I should probably save it, but I'm probably going to be more of a, if you're alright, if you don't mind me moderating it, because I'm not gonna. It's more your baby. I want you to go along with it with Harry Ann. You take the limelight, and I'll just.
You do you, man, and I don't want it to end up like Academic Agent's form of debating, which is. The debating skills of a 7th grader.
I mean, I've never moderated before, but all I'll do is make sure nobody's interrupting each other too much, and you answer questions. Yeah. That's.
Will you please let me finish?
Please let me finish. You need to get that in there at least once. Come on.
Also, since we're on the subject, let's all make fun of Harry on Gladev.
Yes, he's
rock fucker.
Harry and whatever your name is.
Harry on rock fucker, haha.
Gadiv.
Haha, igneous rock gopher.
I wonder how this rock feels up my ass. I like this one.
I like a good volcano to squirt all over me.
Granite feels nice.
So, here's a question though. Would you say that Twitter is a platform or a publisher?
In its current form, a publisher.
Because I would say YouTube definitely is now, and it's through their own fault because of the Susie. What was she called? Susie Liu.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened was she was breaking the terms of service and breaking copyright law through her reaction videos, and she was brazen about it. She knew what she was doing, and yet YouTube, did they actually defend her? I heard that they actually defended her. Or at the very least were doing nothing about it until it was too late. And I thought, well, if they did write something about her, or she's claiming that they're supporting her, then that's their safe harbour rights gone. That's their platform rights gone. Now they're a publisher, which means they're liable for everything that happens on the site. That's what I heard, but I never managed to find or track down the stuff that they said. So that's an interesting thing, because I was also thinking, well, Twitter and YouTube are public companies, right? They're not private companies in the way that we think they are, right? They're owned by millions of different people, you know, shareholders, things like that. They're floated, right? So does that mean that they are one person's property, or are they several people's property? It's not necessarily Jack's though, is it, right? Because he left a few years ago, then he came back. And these shareholders, they can just get rid of him. It's not really about Jack. It's more about them. What do you guys think? Should we take that into account about this topic? The fact that they're not private.
Well, but the thing is, not all stock gives you voting rights, though.
True,
so, like...
true, I know. But they're not, strictly speaking, private companies like your local greengrocers are, you know?
Yeah, but, you know, you should still take pretty much everything into account for this stream, or as much as we can take into account over
I'm gonna
a
need
period
to,
of an hour.
I might have to come up with questions for this, because maybe, I don't know. I'll have to try and think of something. Got a...
You need help, I'm happy to help.
Sure, yeah. You can help me out with that. In regards to gaming, says Austin, I remember a video Louis Levi made a few weeks ago where some EA higher-ups talked about diversity in women while flexing their failed franchises. Yeah, they tend to continue throwing money at things that aren't making money. But that's more of a comics thing anyway. But
Speaking of which, I know this is a political stream, but can I bring up a hot gaming take from very recently?
Go on.
Because I know you guys are gamers.
Mm.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy
VII.
VII.
Women, you could say.
I've not played it, so I can't say. I have not played
Final Fantasy VII remake should have just been a remake.
Yes.
They shouldn't have tried to do all this fucking timeline shifting shit. And I really liked the game, but although it was a bit padded and a bit longer than it needed to be, but that ending, like, it almost ruined it for me, and I am not convinced Square Enix can pull off making a story just as good as Final Fantasy VII, like, by actively changing the story of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, it should have just been a remake. Maybe with a few extra side quests or whatever, but it should have been like...
Technically, that's false advertising. You do know that, right?
Yeah, but they've tried to be slick with it by saying, yeah, we're remaking Final Fantasy VII, hardy. It's like, no, fuck off. You know what you were doing.
This is
the demo was specifically at the start of the game where everything's the same, just so it would appear as if everything was the same. I liked the game, but I am not convinced the next two games, as they become more different from the original, are going to be as good.
I think that's a fair comment to make. I've not played the game, so I actually refuse to play it because it's not my kind of Final Fantasy game. So
are you a turn-based elitist?
Yes, turn-based elitist. Yeah. Again, I will say this: the Final Fantasy X version of the turn-based system was perfect. There was no waiting. There was like a turn list, almost D&D like. They could have in Final Fantasy 12, was it? Yeah, 12. They could have kept that, but it could have been like a roll of the dice, you know, like in D&D. Bring it back to its roots a bit, because it was based on D&D. It could have been like, here's your initiative, but you don't have any say in it. We're gonna decide it for you. So you could get a bad initiative where the enemy ends up getting a few turns, or I don't know. It was perfect. No waiting or anything like that. It was fast paced.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Like the graphical fidelity, the combat system, all that sort of stuff. Because I'm more of an action RPG guy myself. All of that was great. Although it did take some inspiration from Final Fantasy 13, which was a huge fucking mistake. But it's just the one thing that everyone has a problem with is the story, and I can't help but agree, because they've taken a masterpiece, what is generally considered to be a masterpiece of a game. I don't consider it a masterpiece, but I do consider it really fucking good.
Zinkman
And
reckons that FF7 is
and
a
they-
remake of 13. What would you say?
If he's talking about the remake, in many respects, yes, but they have refined it. They have refined the stuff they took from Final. To be fair to it, it's taken the stuff that it took from Final Fantasy 13. It has improved upon, but not enough to justify it being in the game. But generally speaking, it is a very good game. I just don't like how they've messed with the story in order to make it new and original when it's not. It's just it's false. Like you said, it's kind of false advertising. Because you promised to remake Final Fantasy VII as a modern action RPG, and what you've done is create a completely new game, which essentially serves as a sequel.
So, Chicago, anything political you want to talk about? Anything that's happened?
Not really in my own mind, honestly, but well, there was that hot take tweet that I made the other day.
Oh yeah.
If you want me to talk.
I don't think I saw that. If I did, I probably forgot.
Oh, I basically says that the hot take is weakness should just be nothing but derided and never praised.
Oh wait, I did see that. Yeah, I agree. Because I think it creates a weak culture. So what was your reason
praising
behind?
weakness. Oh, my weakness was praising weakness creates more weak people, and more weak people creates a weak society.
How do you define a weak?
Unable to stand up for yourself, basically letting people walk all over you, yada yada, and that's
Alright, fair enough.
Not being self-sufficient, not being, I would say, not being individualistic in a sense, in regards to taking responsibility and ownership of yourself, being able to look after yourself, things like that. Like a lot of people are
pretty
weak
much.
in that way, and that's not necessarily their fault. Some of it is, but some of it's also upbringing. I would say, and I would agree with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Funnily enough, I had my own interactions with something like that. I have this guy on Twitter who's like an SGW. He always sometimes quote tweets me and things like that. I have a few of them like that. And there was this Raylo. He was saying, "Oh, am I the only person?" Or something. I'm paraphrasing. Who still mourns for Ben Solo? And I'm like, that is so weak. What the hell? That is so weak. I just retweeted somebody else retweeting them, saying that's just weak and pathetic. Raylo's a fucking stupid, right? And this guy says, "Oh, people can mourn fake fictional characters," and he compared it to Christians worshipping Jesus, and it's like, then I told him, hang on, but Jesus resurrected and became exalted, and he ascended. He didn't actually die. You do know that, right? They're not mourning him because Christians also believe that they will meet him at some point. Am I right?
Holy fucking shit!
Chicago, when
What
you
the hell
pray,
are you doing now?
Dude,
Yeah.
the fucking dogs are having a war outside.
let them fight.
No, dude, they just won't stop barking. Fucking leave me alone.
Let them fight. Well, Chicago, you're a Christian, right? So, do you think, am I right? Am I wrong? I mean, I don't know
Well,
how
I mean,
you feel.
I don't pray to Jesus. I pray to God, and Jesus is merely the Son of God. So
Yeah, but when you pray, you don't mourn him. Would you say?
thank him.
Because I've never known a Christian say that.
Wait, do Mennonites fucking not believe in the divinity of Christ?
Well, yeah, we do, but we believe more in the divinity of the Trinity, which is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
No.
Yeah, I've never known a Christian say they were mourning him. I feel like my favourite SGW was simply trying to come up with something out of his ass to defend stupid, weak behaviour from a Rilo. I don't. How can you compare that to worshipping Christ? I mean, yeah, you can believe it. You can
Well, you
believe.
can compare it to worshiping Christ if you know absolutely nothing about, how worshiping Christ works.
Yeah, because yeah, they pray to God, not to Jesus. I mean, there are some sects who believe that Jesus and God are kind of the same, but he's not really though, is he? I don't know. And he didn't die, so there's nothing to mourn about. He was already mourned when he died. Then he was resurrected, and then he went to take his place in on his other throne. Right? That's how it goes.
Yeah.
So there's nothing to mourn about. He's alive.
Yeah, I never understood that either.
Alive,
it's like
I don't believe, but like from what I've read, he is very much alive and kicking. Just not on this earth. He's in the next earth. He's in heaven, doing his thing. It's kind of like the Greek gods in a sense. They're alive, but they're just doing their thing in Mount Olympus. If that makes sense.
Yeah, they're just having a massive orgy or whatever the fuck they do.
Well, Jesus doesn't, but yeah, basically.
Hey, you don't know.
I don't know, but I don't want to offend our resident Christian here though. So
How
I don't
easily
know.
offended do you think I am?
Not very, but I'm not gonna take the risk.
Jesus
Fair
likes
enough.
traps. Changed my
He
mind.
probably did, to be fair.
Jesus is a trap. Changed my mind.
Oof.
Jesus says it's a trap. It gets the
Trans Jesus.
Well, funnily enough, right? I was reading something.
Jesus has big femboy energy.
Oh yes.
Ooh, Jesus was a femboy. Oh.
Yeah, dude. You know he knows exactly what he's doing, being crucified up there, and only that linen cloth. Oh.
Jesus would be there for the oogaloo.
He was telling the Roman legionary to whip him more, Daddy.
Jesus would make a great male stripper.
I don't know, depends how you draw him.
Y'all are terrible people.
I know, we are.
We're atheists, we don't care.
But I mean, I don't know, but now you're making me laugh.
Haha.
For those of you who have just walked in, welcome to Spergonomics. The views of Alcazar and British Knight and me do not reflect the views of Chicago Liberal.
Yes, they do.
They really
Yes, they
don't.
do.
Even though that's not my view, so you don't reflect me, Alcazar.
Shut up.
But I thought that was a silly analogy and it didn't make sense. And I think they're just making an excuse for weak behaviour. Like who genuinely mourns a fictional? I didn't mourn when Han Solo got killed. Oh, is that a spoiler? Oh well, should have watched it when it came out. But I don't remember being. I mean, I was shocked that he died, but I didn't mourn it because he's not real. Harrison Ford is still alive for now, and he's doing another Indiana Jones. Why?
All right.
So they reckon that lockdown is going to be eased in the UK next month, but you may be able to go on a picnic. Did you know that? Hello?
Hello.
Yeah, you went quiet for a second there, guys.
For St. Louis are going to be easy next week.
And I
They're
just
gonna
saw
be eased on,
something. Here's something that you guys might be interested in. This is for the economics. Oh, it's just gone. Hang on. It was here, but what was just trending now in British Twitter was stop the rent. Let me just try and find that. Hang on. Hashtag.
Oh, don't tell me you got freaking Georgists on Twitter.
No, it's not Georgists, believe it or not. It's the Labour Party. They're demanding. Here we are. I'm just going to get something from here. Here we are. I'm going to read this out. There's a petition. Oh my god. Well, this is the students. Okay, so there's a few demands here. Hang on, let me just get the petition up. Okay, here we are. Well, we've got to end soon, but we can. Basically, it's a coalition of students demanding that rent freeze because they're not getting jobs being paid. They're not getting paid for their job. Well, they are. Some of them are. Some of them have lost jobs. Some of them aren't getting paid as much as they should be. Services have shut down and they're not being taught. So they're saying they should freeze rent for their.
Well, here's the thing. I know for a fact, at least in the UK, they are still getting their student loan, so they should have no excuse for not paying their rent.
Mm-hmm. It's just students being lazy. I mean, we've still got to pay our rent over here, where I live.
And here's the thing: the Labour Party's only supporting it because they love a person in debt.
Mm-hmm. What else? There's like 8 demands, but I can't find all the other demands. Hang on a sec. Let's have a look. Oh my god, eco-socialism. Get fucked. Where is it? Where are all these demands? Oh, fuck it. Well, they're trying to get Keir Starmer on it, and I think he said something, but I can't find that tweet. Where is it? There was something here, but I don't know. I don't think they should stop the rent. Most of them aren't even in their dorms. They're at home, so they shouldn't actually be paying the rent anyway, right? I don't know. I never went into student accommodation, so I can't say how exactly it works. But I assume if you're not living there at that moment...
Yeah, I mean, if you're not, like, fucking living at home...
Well, maybe they are.
Right?
I don't know.
Student
Student rent,
housing.
it depends where you are. So if you're in, like, the cheapest that you can possibly get, and you've got a job, and you've also got student finance coming in. And by the way, most places, if you're just not laid off, but you're just told to stay at home, you're getting 80% of your wages plus student finance, so you should be able to pay it off.
Don't get me wrong, there are certain areas like where student accommodation prices, especially private, are fucking extortionate.
Exactly.
Like London or Oxford or Cambridge. But most places, even if some are a bit more expensive than others, they are generally
affordable. Yeah.
They are generally within the realm of possibility.
I don't know. It's just it didn't last long though as a trending thing. I saw it and I thought, oh, I could talk about that, but it's gone quickly.
It's come up again. There's a different hashtag called "Cancel the Rent."
Yeah, cancel the rent. That's it. Yeah, found it. So let's have a look. What is their demands? I mean, there is that change.org petition. Many of us have been forced to make last-minute extensive, inconvenient travel arrangements. Well, you still got to pay your rent. You know, the landlords and the universities need their money too, to keep these homes in check. That's why you pay rent, so they can fix it when leaks happen or whatever. Oh right, so apparently some of these groups have written to the Labour Party, but that doesn't mean that Keir Starmer is going to necessarily cancel it. I mean, again, landlords are suffering from this. You know, if some of them aren't getting rents, which means they can't afford their own homes, because people forget some landlords have landlords. But I don't know. What do you Americans? So what's going on in universities over there? Because I know you two are at university. I don't know if you're still there though, Chicago, right?
No, I'm taking the year off.
Oh.
I'm not at university.
Oh right, you're not yet. Are you still in high school?
No, I finished a week ago. I just need to have to wait 3 more months before I can
Chicago,
move hours away from the home I've only ever known and just
so Chicago did
myself in a fucking new environment and have to meet new people.
So Chicago, did you live at
Introvert's
home?
worst nightmare.
I can't, dude.
What, you can't leave home?
Stop interrupting Mitch for his question to me.
But anyway, so Chicago, did you live at home or did you live at accommodation?
I lived at home because it's cheaper.
Yeah, I did that for uni.
That means community colleges don't have accommodation.
Really? They don't?
No.
No, of course not.
Oh.
Community colleges aren't really intended to bring outside students. They're mostly there to serve the local community.
Yeah, fair enough. We don't really have that, do we, British Knight? We just have the polytechnics, which is about as close to that as...
In Chicago, I thought you went to a 4-year.
A 4-year? No, I had a 3-year degree.
No, I'm talking about Chicago.
Oh.
Okay.
So are you planning on going out to another state, Alcazar? Or are you gonna...
No, I wanted to stay in state so I could, like, commute. But my parents were like, no, you have to get in there for the full college experience. So I was like, okay, what's the cheapest college within, like, a reasonable distance? And I found it. I'm getting half off tuition, so that's nice. That's
not bad. Is that because of your economic situation, or?
No, it's really gay.
Go on.
I don't want. If I told you, I would dox myself.
Oh right, okay, fair enough. You can't even tell us like what kind of thing it is, or.
I mean, off stream.
Okay, sure, yeah. I didn't think you'd have to expose certain things about yourself.
Yeah.
So anyway, you're kind of a Georgist in a way, aren't you? Or at least you're
No,
sympathetic.
not really. I looked more into Georgism, then I realized these people are retarded.
What made you decide they were retarded? I just got some of the books.
Well, I just don't think owning land is the literal worst thing ever, for one.
Because that's what I was trying to tell you. Like, they're against private property for no logical reason.
Yeah.
Like, I understand why the communists are.
You can't own the air. It's like, well, dude, you can't even
nobody
fucking
does.
grasp it.
Yeah, because
They're essentially Adam Smith stands.
But Adam Smith was for private property, though.
He was for private property, but with caveats.
Oh.
If you read The Wealth of Nation, like he was against landlords. That's why neoclassical economics largely replaced classical economics by the mid 19th century.
So what, he wanted everybody to own their own little house or whatever, as opposed to
he largely wanted people to like own businesses and but he wasn't, I guess he wasn't so much against owning private property. He was just more, he gave the argument that not it being owned communally wouldn't negatively affect the economy. Or at least it wouldn't have negative free market effects other forms of nationalization would. I'm
definitely gonna have to read that. Well, because I've got a nice. Well, I've got a Kindle copy, but I've also got a good print copy. Because it's got it had a nice cover. I thought I'm getting that, so I'm gonna have to read that at some point after I've done my homework. But before we go though, I saw I don't know who it was who was proposing this. It was in this server, wasn't it? Somebody in Trump's cabinet reckoned they should increase. Here it is, Senator. Is it Bernie Sanders and Harris? I don't know who Harris. Oh, is that Kamala Harris? Yeah, they proposed $2,000 monthly payments to Americans. But I don't know if that's to continue after COVID or. They just want to increase the amount of bags that people get during the lockdown. Did you hear about that, guys?
No.
Yeah, the House Democrats called
for...
Yeah,
I did, and it's stupid as hell.
Yeah. I mean, you're already borrowing a lot of money as it is. I know my country definitely has borrowed a hell of a lot of money. But they're not really being... I would say they're not exactly being open about where they're getting it from. Just saying, oh yeah, we got money, don't worry. I'm like, well... If you're paying for the whole economy to not tank, then I can only imagine that you're borrowing it. And I think doubling the amount of Trump books is going to negatively affect recovery, I would say. I don't know what you guys think.
I don't know.
Oh, it definitely will. And the Trump bucks thing alone was actually a severe mistake.
Because the people are still getting welfare, though, right? As well.
Yeah.
So that's not a good idea. That can't be good for the economy. Because
you're subsidizing low time preference.
Yeah.
We know high time preference essentially.
Pretty much. I just think again, Sanders was as I said before, Sanders was Denmark posting again, wasn't he? On Twitter. Let's see if I can bring that up. Hang on.
My socialism in Europe.
Well, just wait. Then after this we'll leave. But this is stupid. This is honestly stupid. Some of what he's saying is true, but he's kind of spinning it, if you know what I mean. So let's see if I can find this. Where is it? It literally was retweeted earlier. Oh, fuck's sake.
Also, Chicago, in the Discord, change me from neoclassical to Austrian, please.
Ooh, are you an Austrian now?
What's kind of Austrian?
Like, musician.
Oh. Done. Here we are. I've got it, guys.
Wait, haven't we hit the hour mark?
We have, but I just want to say one more thing before we go. So here's Bernie Sanders Denmark posting. I might just.
It's real Denmark hours, guys.
I'll show this to the. I'm going to show this as well to the audience. I think. There we are. There it is, guys. You should see that. Unemployment for America is 14.7%. Denmark 4.9%. Is that true? Let's double check that. I'm just gonna bring up another Google thing. Hang on a sec. So while you guys see, you should still be able to see that. Yes, you can. So let's see, Denmark unemployment is 4.8. Okay, thereabouts. Although it's been going down. Interesting. I don't know if they're in lockdown though. Like, I know Sweden isn't. So then he says the McDonald's hourly wage, $9 is America, which is the minimum wage, right?
Yeah, federal minimum wage is $7.25, I think.
Mm-hmm. Is that for people under a certain age, or is that just across the board?
It's across the board, but various states can adjust it for different purposes, such as tipping jobs.
This is in McDonald's, because this is where I think he's spinning it, because he's only mentioning McDonald's as opposed to the average wage overall, which I reckon is much lower. So the average McDonald's worker gets $22 in Denmark. So he's ignoring economic reality anyway, because we don't. For those of you who don't know, Denmark has no minimum wage, as far as I know. You guys, who told me that? Was it you, Chicago, or was it Alcazai?
I think it was me.
Yeah.
It's almost as if when people have to compete. It's almost as if when somewhere has closed borders and people have to compete for labour, the friggin'
They're not
wages
closed, as far as I know, Denmark. But maybe it's less open than others. But anyway, weeks of paid vacation. Apparently in America it's 0, and in Denmark it's 5. But then I would say surely that depends on the employer's discretion then, right? Because I've worked in places where you get paid vacation, some places you don't. And I guess in Denmark that's a mandatory 5 weeks.
Yeah, it's mandatory.
Yeah. So again, he's ignoring reality. In America, it's more up to the personal employer. It's up to them. Do they have the money to allow people to do that, or do they not? Well, in Denmark, they have to. But then again, they also don't have a minimum wage, which means that they can probably afford to anyway, because they can just charge people less, I guess, if they're a small company. Well, pay people less, sorry. Then COVID deaths per million, 87, which is, I think that's 87 people per million in Denmark, 231 in America. But again, that's just because America's a bigger place. That doesn't mean that Denmark is doing a better job with COVID than America is.
America's also actually more urbanized than Denmark.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it probably is. Yeah, and Denmark is smaller with a lot less people. This is like, I don't think they even have 10 million, do they? They have they're under 10 million. Let's have a look. So the population.
Yeah, they're under 10 million.
Population. I'm just gonna make sure we get the actual number. Population of Denmark. 5.8.
Furthermore, keep in mind that a lot of the COVID-19 deaths that the United States actually has are only the states that are still in lockdown. All the states that are out of lockdown really don't have that many deaths.
I mean, look at Texas, for example. They've got barely any. And that's a massive state.
Texas is roaring economically right now, too.
And not only that, they've got a lot of big cities around there as well, and they've not been hit hard at all. But it's actually, funny enough, even in California, they've not been hit hard. But then they reckon they already had it long before everybody else, without knowing it. So by the time they went into lockdown, it had peaked, but I'm not sure. It's only in New York, really, that it's been devastating, and that's where most of those deaths are. And I think that's why it's inflated. It would be much lower if New York had, bothered to do things properly. And then COVID-19 tests per 1,000, 24 in the US, 49 in Denmark. That's probably a cultural thing. That could just be Denmark is really pushing for tests, whereas in America...
It's also the fact that Denmark is smaller.
Yeah, and smaller, yeah. Maybe it could be that because in America it's been left to the States, mostly, that it's the way it is, because most of them don't need to test. That's why it's half as much. And it's like an opinion thing. McDonald's workers in Denmark pity us. Well, yeah, because they don't have to worry about a bloody minimum wage that's depressing their wages. But anyway, Bernie debunked, guys, basically. Once again, using Denmark as an example of something that, is stupid.
Also,
utopia.
Denmark has free trade, which...
I don't know if isn't he for free trade? I don't know.
No, he's against free trade. He fucking hates NAFTA, TPP, and shit like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, anyway, I think after that we shall end the stream. Thank you, British Knight, for being on.
Thanks for having me on. Always happy to be on.
Any last words?
Go watch my video. I'm a shameless shell.
I will watch the video. In fact, let me just do something. I'll actually pop it in the chat for people because I have the power.
You have the power.
I do. Where is it now? Where did I put it? There it is. I've got it. So go watch the video, lads and ladettes. You will not be disappointed. It is a useless tweet, Austin. You're completely right. Fox, don't worry about it. Don't worry. We were discussing your rivals. Fox Troika, for those who don't know, is Swedish. We were talking about Denmark and how they're totally not the thing that Bernie's obsessed with. Why are they so obsessed with Denmark? I've never got that. It's
because Denmark is a successful society with very generous social welfare programs, but they do not appreciate how Denmark has it.
Because they do realise that Denmark has had to trade off a lot of things for that, right?
Have that even in the first place and why it's successful.
They do know
which is mainly due to.
They do know that Denmark has had to trade off a lot of things for that as well.
There's a book about this, but it's about Norway, I think, or Sweden.
So anyway, last words.
It was written by a Kurdish immigrant to Sweden. It's called something Utopia.
I'll look it up. But anyway, last words, Alcazar, while we're talking.
George Soros did nothing wrong.
Ooh, that's a controversial hot take. And
well, he funded my checks. I have to say it.
Chicago, any last words?
If I have to choose between rule of lawyers and rule of King Charles I of England, I would gladly take the latter.
Is that Charles I was the latter, was he?
Yes.
So you're basically going through. You basically take Shakespeare's thing, which is kill all the lawyers. That's an actual quote, by the way, from Henry IV. Yeah, some guy just goes, "Kill all the lawyers." Anyway, my last words are always debunk Bernie Sanders' Denmark posting and Fox Troika is gay. See you later, guys.
Bye.